through some submission or some sweep, my first action is take care about the controlling. How I control my opponent when I'm on the bottom, how I do my frames. And in this specific case, lasso sweep or lasso hook sweep, I always use and I always give a preference for this kind of controlling, where I have my hand on the same side of, where I'm grabbing the same side of the collar, and my hand is framing his shoulder. Which normally happen. People are a little bit confused about work with the collar. When I'm grabbing the collar, when I'm grabbing some cross collar on the same side, I have a lasso. Can you imagine this? I have a lasso and I'm grabbing the same side of the collar. His right side is free to move, and he can start to, can you come up? And he can start to disturb my lasso because I'm not holding his both sides. So if how do you prefer I call you a tie?
Yeah.
If a tie walk around me to his right, I'm not framing his upper body, so I'm like controlling his left side, but it's not saving me. I'm not doing any frame on the right side. So in that point, for example, as I have just this cross collar, he can pretty easy hug my head, and then start to pass my guard and put pressure. If I have my hand on the right spot, the same side of the collar, when my opponent walk around, so I have always this frame prepared. So this frame, I never can lose that. Of course, to make sweeps, I'm gonna show like a couple situations where I switch the hand to ankles and knees, whatever. But there are some explanation in between the positions. You're gonna feel you're gonna be safe. But this hand on the collar is very important if you wanna hold your opponent close to you, and also if you want respect some safe distance. When we are playing guard, also and doing frames, we cannot bend our body by pulling the opponent towards us. When we are using frames, the idea is about you stretch your arm and then make this move, this action as more natural as you can. So as my body is stretched like this, even if I start to put pressure over my arm, I can hold him pretty much without spending my energy, and this position is very comfortable for me. If I start to fight against the tie by pulling him, pushing him away, if he drops his body weight while my arm is bended, can you drop the body? I should like start to fight against him to find space. Look at how my arm is working here. It's bended. So it's bent. It's gonna be tough for me to stretch my arm and then find space and work. So here, how can I set up some frame perfectly? Just by it's not about turning my elbow, but I should touch my opponent with this area of the hand. So just this bottom area. If I control my opponent by pulling him away using my fingers, I'm not using the right frame because my elbow is pointing to down. When I'm using this area of my hand, just by turning my hand a little, my elbow turns to outside, not so much, but he naturally turns because this is an atomic movement. And even if he drops his body weight over my right hand, I'm safe. I can relax here. So I can hold his body just by using one arm. Can you release position? So can you put a pressure over this arm? I can hold him like pretty much for a long time. Can you release again? So if I turn and I put my fingers on his body, look at this, it's gonna be hard. My shoulder is not in a proper position. I will lose the pressure. It's hard to talk in that position. But if I reset, look at this. Look at the difference. My shoulder is close to my ear. It's hard to hold him. Just by turning a little my elbow, because this is an atomic position. The palm of my hand is pushing him away. Alright? It's good. So this is very important. This is a very important detail to understand when you are playing lasso guard. And you can use, the nice thing about this, those details is you can use that when you are playing collar and sleeve guard too. When you are playing collar and sleeve guard, you just work with a cross collar, if you are looking to attacks like triangle, armbar, omoplatas, because you're gonna work on the same side of your opponent. But if when you are looking for controlling, you should work on the same side of the collar, using that area of the hand, stretch your body, keeping your opponent away, and then this is some anatomic, how can I say, anatomic mechanic?
Yeah.
And atomic mechanics. So this is natural for you. You don't need to spend your energy because your body is working like perfect, straight. So everything is about your muscles and bones in the right position. Every unnatural position you create, you're gonna spend more energy to hold that. So for that reason, working with the fingers on the collar is a wrong way. Your
Palm.
palm, I could say like palm of your hand on the shoulder is the best thing you could do to hold your opponent. And the last thing about this hand on the collar is about how you hold your opponent. So please don't, as I said in the beginning, don't try pull your opponent towards you. Try, I'm gonna set up the right position. Elbow, hand on the collar, palm to hand. Try just drop your body on the mat. When I drop my body on the mat, even if my opponent try to walk around, can you walk around? It's pretty easy for me. Keep squaring my hip. Even in a situation that do 2 steps to the side. Can you do 2 steps? And I feel, man, I'm like, my hip's not squaring or following him while he's walking. It's pretty easy. If you see my elbow is since the beginning close to my body, my palm of my hand is touching his shoulder, what I do? I square. He walks to the other side, he turns my hip, but look at here how hard is for him find spaces to get inside my guard. Because I have my foot on the shoulder, I have the other foot on the shoulder too, it's not on the biceps, it's on the shoulder, it's tapping on the shoulder. I have my hand on the collar, and I'm not pulling him or pushing him. I'm just dropping my body weight on the mat for sure, but also while I'm dropping my body weight on the mat, I'm making my grips heavy. So for me, it's pretty easy to stay here and play guard for like 10 minutes without I spend my grips in strength because I'm not pulling him and not make my legs tired because I'm just stepping on his body. So the main idea here is about making my opponent work in an uncomfortable position and stay on the bottle working in a very perfect body type of configuration. All right? So we're talking about sleeve, we're talking about collar, quadril is hip. So how we gonna use how we should use the hip on this situation? So there are 2 ways to use your hip, depending on which configuration you use. We have the deep lasso and we have the lasso stepping on the shoulder. So the sleeve works pretty much the same in the both situations, as I said. The collar works. This is my finger. Oh shit. This is blood? Where is coming this blood? I don't know. Maybe it was like this. This is not bloody. Alright, so something happened. No worries, guys. No worries. So we're talking about sleeve. We work exactly in the same way, deep and foot of the shoulder. Collar we use exactly the same way for the both situations, like dropping the body weight on the mat. And the hip, how we use. So lasso, if you work with deep lasso, there is a chance for you stuck your own body if you get your lasso deeply, deep. So if you like swing your leg and you touch your opponent's back, it's gonna be very hard for you move your hip right after you get the deep lasso. Even if you have a little mobility, you're gonna feel that depending on which movement your opponent does, it's gonna be pretty hard for you reset your hip in the front of him. And about the lasso when you are stepping on the shoulder, so the idea is keep your hip heavy on the mat and always use your knees to get a pressure on the hip. So I'm gonna explain the difference. So when we are here, we have the deep lasso first. This is the hardest one to learn. So when I do the deep lasso, so I have the same idea, back to hand touching my own leg, elbow towards the mat. But if you see my knee, when I swing, when I pass my leg and involve his arm, my knee starts to get into his armpit. In that case, if I stretch my leg so much and I touch his belt, so we do a lot of drills when we start to play jiu-jitsu that you should swing your leg touching like in the end of his back. But look at my knee. My hip is pointing to outside and my knee is almost inside his armpit. In that moment, even if I have, of course, I can hold him having my frame on the shoulder. But even having this frame, if my opponent walk away and start to smash my knee, he gonna get it because my knee is too deep on the lasso that he can pretty easy start to smash me. This hand on the collar saved me, but we're gonna have like hard times to reset the guard. So always when I'm playing lasso guard, of course I should square my hip out, finding angle, and then while I'm placing my foot on his back, the main thing I take care is about my knee in the front of his shoulder. So if I get my knee deeply too, it's gonna be hard because I will kill my own hip. But when I'm playing deep lasso guard, if I have my knee in the front of my opponent's shoulder, I have a frame and this knee will work in the same way, maybe a little bit more tight than if I have my foot on the shoulder in the another configuration of lasso guard. So my foot is floating there, but I have my knee controlling his shoulder like this. So my hand and elbow work in the same way, and we have the same configuration like this: hand on the collar and foot on the shoulder. What happened here? If